Welcome to Hospitality on the Rise, the podcast about the people shaping the hospitality industry and their journeys. I'm your host, Alice Chang, founder and CEO of Culinary Agents, hospitality's go-to hiring platform. And I'm here to give you your dose of virtual mentorship. Here, we'll be sharing the stories, lessons learned, and advice from hospitality leaders who've carved out their own path to success. After all, this industry is where many get their start and go on to do incredible things. Whether you're a pro, starting out, or just love the hustle, this podcast highlights what makes hospitality extraordinary: the people. I'm so excited to have Anthony Mangieri with us today. And Anthony is the owner and chef of Una Pizza Napoletana, naturally leavened, wood-fired pizzas with some other appetizers, ice cream, sorbetto, Italian beers, and wine. That is a mouthful, and no pun intended. And founder and CEO of Genio, Della Pizza. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
I'm particularly excited to have you on for various reasons, but one, because I feel like you've been a little bit of a like man of mystery, at least in my world. Everybody knows about you, knows about your brand, but even when we were doing research, we're like, let's get more details about how it all began. But here you are. Why don't you tell us, how did it all begin?
Ah, it's a long story and it's sad. No, I'm kidding. Um, no, I'm from New Jersey, and I grew up, in a pretty close-knit Italian American family. My grandmother lived, across the street from us, and I spent a lot of time with her, and I at a young age, really started to love, like, I just love history, and so I just naturally gravitated towards wanting to know about the food from where my family was from and all that kinda stuff, and then fast forward, towards the end of school, I was really into music and cycling and all that, and parallelly also cooking at home, and then I just started getting more and more obsessed with cooking and made a lot of trips to Italy with my mom, and that was sort of the beginnings, and then eventually I opened a bread bakery when I was about 20 years old in New Jersey. It was, all hand mixed, naturally leavened, wood fire baked, and that was in Red Bank, New Jersey, and then I had wanted to open a pizzeria at the time, but I didn't have the funds to do it, so a bakery was easier because I didn't need to have, like, tables or employees or anything. It was literally just like a counter with a little wall that my dad and I built, and behind that was this big wood burning oven, and, like, that was kind of it, and it was all, just me and my grandmother would come in to hang out there, and then eventually, a couple years later, I opened, the first, iteration of Una Pizza, and that was in 1996.
Wow, and I saw somewhere that you started making pizza actually when you were around 15 or in the teens. Was that just
Yeah.
something you just started doing, like, one day I feel like making pizzas, or
No, I loved, like, I was always, like, a picky eater, and my friends, like, I was really into skateboarding and punk rock music and stuff, and my friends didn't care about food, and I was always the one that was, like, more picky and never wanted to eat at anyone's house because I didn't like the way the food smelt, and the parents didn't know how to cook. I was, like, really picky. So no, I loved pizza, and I started trying to make it at a very young age, and then I was making it and giving it to, like, the neighbors and stuff, and that was sort of the beginning of it.
Yeah, and you probably had fun during the research phase too in general, right? Tasting around.
Yeah, yeah, like, New Jersey, I've actually been thinking about it a lot lately for some reason. I have such a nostalgia for, like, what I remember my childhood to be like. Not that it was all amazing, but, like, when it comes to food and, like, going to these pizzerias and stuff and just the way things were back then, that, like, I think about it a lot. I really, really loved, the pizza in New Jersey when I was growing up as a kid. Like, it just changed a lot over the years and stuff, but I really loved it.
Yeah, and it's also one of those foods I feel like, I was born and raised in New York and Manhattan, and grew up in Queens a little bit, and I feel like every neighborhood has like their spot, and like all the kids go there after school. It's like generally like more affordable and casual than other types of grab and go type of situations, and There's definitely like a broader culture around that beyond just pizza. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Christina and I are always like, if we open a place that makes Italian American style pizza, we have to sponsor a little league team. You know what I mean? Because that's just like that's what I remember. It's like you would go there and like, or we would be so excited, like if it was Friday night and that's we were going to pick up the pizza and have it at home or whatever the case was, it was like just such a part of my life as a kid. So and then as I grew older, I ended up hating all of it. And because I was like, this isn't like in Italy, and I became such a purist and full circle all the way back around. Then, as an adult now, I've kind of come around to love and appreciate both cultures and both cuisines, which are very different. They definitely take from each other. And in some ways, I feel like even the cuisine of Italy takes from Italian American culture in some ways, but they're very different cuisines.
yeah, yeah, and then even the sub-regional areas within Italy has its
Totally.
own way of making things and their own local ingredients,
Absolutely.
etcetera. Yeah. So, I was doing the math, I was counting. Is next year your 30-year anniversary of the brand?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so take
2026 to 30 years.
wow, okay, so you were just starting to talk about you opened your first, pizza Napoletana, in 1996. Um, do you remember what were some of your biggest challenges when you were, like, you're, going in that direction from your bakery?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the first challenge was more just me emotionally, as somebody who wanted to cook and bake. Um, I had never really considered that there was a lot of other things that have to take place to run a business, separately from just being like, "Oh, I love bacon. I'm gonna have a bakery." And in a way, I kind of could pull that off a little bit back then because I had no employees. It was a different era. There was no social media. You could make things that were terrible and no one knew unless they came in and ate it. It wasn't like national news in 5 minutes. So there was some beauty in that. There was some leeway to learn your skills, but then transitioning to the pizzeria, like I think the first hurdle was just learning how to like actually engage with the customers in a different way and have them dining in the space and slowly learning about hospitality. And then parallel that to then also starting to have employees and a staff and learning how to manage that. And and it's constantly a journey and a learning experience. I feel like we've only recently, in maybe the last 3 or 4 years, really have focused so much on the hospitality and the front of the house side of things, because for many years, and I mean, I developed somewhat of a maybe a slightly out of proportion, reputation for being kinda not nice with customers, but that was way, way back when, and it wasn't that I wasn't nice, it was just that I was very, like, kind of old school, and I was like, "Here's the pizza, and kinda screw you if you don't like it, and there's no customer service coming with it." And it worked when I was young, but, as I got older, I started to also appreciate and understand that the dining experience is more than just the food, and I spent so much time over the years learning more about that and how to treat people and how to engage with people, and now I feel like it's at least 50% of our effort in the restaurant is how do we inspire the guests and the staff, and how do we get folks to leave the restaurant and feel like, like they really bought into it and that they want to be a part of it and that they want to come back and they want to support it. And, it's important because, you know, there's so much stress in the world and there's so many options in the world that, you know, there's a lot of good food. There needs to be more than that, I think, nowadays, for people to come back more than once. It's okay if it's kind of like, oh, it's whatever the gimmick is that gets people through the door once and you have lines for a little bit of time, but to sustain, constant growth coming on 30 years, it needs to be a complete package.
Yeah, and I love what you said that because even though you're coming on 30 years, right? you have moved the brand, and the soul and the essence of it into multiple cities, and places and locations over the years, and been able to maintain that same level of consistent quality and, you know, reputation in general as a master of of your craft. And to your point about, even recognizing that stylistically, how you approach business and front of house and hospitality, et cetera, that's also a reflection of how diners are now, and how the times are now versus before. At the end of the day, you continue to communicate what you're communicating through your craft, through the ingredients. You're sourcing things very meticulously, and there's no other way that you can communicate it except through your through your pizza, right, and through the experience that's being had. So, mean, I bought in. I drank the Kool-Aid. I stood in line even when I didn't need to. Thank you. I was telling Christina a funny story when I recently dined there, which was incredible. And we got there before opening, and there was a line. And my husband, myself, my daughter, we just like got into line. And even though we had a reservation, I'm like, we're just gonna stand in line because I don't want to stand in front of the door and have this whole line of people looking at me. But and so, the fact that you've been able to recreate essentially Una Pizza Napoletana again and again in different cities. What is that like? Because you also have to deal with the difference in water, for example, from like New York versus San Francisco. So take me through some of those challenges.
Sure. Um, well, it's a lot. I mean, it's not getting any easier as I get older. I think also again, like just connected to that like growth and the time that we've been around, I feel like the stakes keep getting higher. So whenever I do something, I like really want to give every ounce of myself to it emotionally, mentally, physically, like just everything that I can bring to the table. And so it is exhausting and there's always a learning curve whenever we've closed and reopened somewhere else. I mean, it's most of the time it's been for life reasons more than business reasons. The move to New York was more of a business reason the first time around. Um because I was in New Jersey and I just felt like god, I'm so sick of people coming into my place and being like, "Oh, it's good for New Jersey." And I'm like, "No, it's good. Doesn't matter if I'm in New Jersey." Make me so upset. And I'm like, "I'm gonna open in New York and I am gonna kick butt. And I'm like gonna be so focused and not mess around and just be on this path." Because also I was younger and New York has a lot of temptations and, chefs and stuff like to go out late at night. And I really was like, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to like just do this. Like it's like, a physical sport. Like I'm in a game and I'm like trying to win the game. And so I tried to stay as focused as I could. And I achieved everything I felt like I could at that time. And then at that point, I started to get a little bit burnt out and then moved to California and that was purely a lifestyle reason because I wanted to be where I could cycle and still run a business. And then eventually I felt like I needed to come back to New York where we're from and where, I just felt like it would be better for the brand and closer to family and all that. So, but
Yeah,
it's been tough every time.
and well, kudos because you've been able to continue that the brand essentially, like not just the
I think
essence,
it's
the
actually
culture.
better, each time. I think
Yeah,
this version, which is in the same space that it was before COVID, and then we closed for, I guess, about 3 years, and I had a location in New Jersey during that time, and we still had this, and then I rebuilt the inside and changed it and bought out the investors and the partners, so I own it completely, independently. Um when I came back up here, I was like, we're going to come up here and we're bringing so much love and so much focus. And I'm going to work myself to death if I have to, but like it needs to be the best version it's ever been. And I really do believe like this is the best tuna we've ever done in 30 years, vibe wise, service wise, food wise, just everything. I think we're firing on all cylinders. We can always be better, believe me, but I think we come in every day and we really are like, let's give it all.
yeah, I love you touched a little bit upon kind of your growth and evolution. And, one of the things that restaurateurs or leaders sometimes talk about is the need to grow, open more multiple locations, partially because they want to retain some, staff. And part of it sometimes is because that was a goal for them personally to have, several locations or to grow a big empire. But you stayed really focused and have just focused on making it better, making your brand better, in that location. Do you think that's gonna continue to stay, or do you have plans for different types of growth?
It's hard to say because like we've gotten close to that kind of growth many times over the years. I mean, going all the way back to the first New York location on 12th Street. And through the years I've been fortunate enough and flattered that people have come to me and been like, "Oh, would you like to do this or would you like to do that?" And I always entertain it and I always vet it. Quite frankly, nothing up until now has ever made me feel like it's worth it. Because I know a lot of chefs kind of, buy into this idea, especially currently where it's like, I'm only going to be relevant for so long. I got to just hit it and do everything and they just go like pop, 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 and it's like 5 restaurants, CPGs, this, that, and it's great, and like, God bless them, but, like, I've been around so long, and I don't plan on stopping unless I drop dead or my son grows up and wants to take over, which is gonna be a while anyway, so I got a little a little bit of a road ahead of me still. So I don't feel like the rush to be like, "Oh, I've gotta hurry up and do this or no one's gonna care next week, and then no one will wanna do it." I just feel like if you keep evolving within your craft and keep evolving within your hospitality side of things, I think you can always stay relevant, Like, I think that's one of the saddest things for me is because 'cause I'm such into history and nostalgia. It always makes me feel a little sad when you go to places that have been around for 20, 30, 40 years and they kinda suck. And you can see that the owners are never there, like, they're just kinda going through the motions, it just feels worn out, and I just don't believe that that has to be the case. I think, there's always my grandmother used to always say that there's always room for great stuff. Like, it's never like, "Oh, there's too many people doing this. I'm not gonna bother." There's always room, if you're doing something from the heart and transparent and, just with a lot of love. And so long answer to say, I don't know. Maybe somebody comes to me and they're like, "Hey, we want to do this and here's, $10 million and they're aligned with me and it's beautiful and it makes me feel safe," then maybe I would do it. But I think the first step for me in doing that is that I need to feel that there's a reason to do it. One, financially, and two, like beauty. Like, are we gonna be able to like build a beautiful staff and give people like a real career? What are the points behind it, And I think the reason we see so many places that are opening or chefs that are opening so many locations or different versions of things is because 90% of all the guys are part of restaurant groups now. And that's just the MO of a restaurant group. Like, restaurant groups aren't going to buy into a place and be like, "All right, keep that one. That's going to make all our investors happy." They're going to be like, what the hell are you doing over there? Like, come on, let's
Yep.
do it. So that's also why we've chosen to stay independent, up to this point. But I'm always interested and always willing to learn about stuff and see what's out there. But for now, I don't see anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you said it, like, you vet it, you listen, and you evaluate it, right?
Exactly.
I think that's really
Exactly.
important.
No, no,
And
totally. Yeah, I'm never closed. Like, when it comes to that, or when it comes to learning about social media and using that as a tool, or learning about AI and using that as a tool, like, I'm an old man, but like I'm still trying to stay young at heart and surround myself with people who inspire me, and just be open to things and use things as a tool to benefit me and the brand and my life. So I think as long as you stay open, that's the key to staying relevant, you know?
yeah.
Like, don't buy the same ingredient from the same source because that's what your mom bought at the restaurant. Well, maybe that ingredient is crap now, Like, you gotta keep like, going and being like, all right, you know what? Like these tomatoes we used to get 5 years ago, now they're not good anymore. So now I'm getting these because they're better. Like just moving and moving and moving along is for me the key.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how you keep this energy level up because you made a joke that you're an old man, but I saw you working the pizza that evening, and there's nothing slow about that happening. But um,
Well, I'm
the
very fortunate for that. Thank God.
yeah, and it's I mean that's the other thing that you, correct me if I'm wrong, are still you're the only one that's handling the dough and making the pizzas to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really think about it, but I guess so. um,
Whoops, sorry. I didn't mean to
yeah.
unlock that
Oh
for you,
no,
but
hold on. Hold on. Knocking on wood. I'm the only one that makes the dough in the restaurant and the only one. There was a brief period when right before COVID, where we were open here 6 days a week, and I was building out the other restaurant where I started to train folks to do some of the dough and stuff because it just became like impossible. And at that point, we were toying with scaling, and so we were going to have two locations, and I was building out all this stuff. But that was just for a very brief period. But basically, yeah, for 30 years, I'm the only one that's made the dough, and I still make the dough every single night here. And we don't open unless I'm here. I'm either opening and topping the pizzas or baking the pizzas, or some nights doing all of it. Again, like that was sort of a choice when we came back to reopen after COVID in this location. I had felt like I want to come back and I want to really find a way financially to be able to somehow sustain being open less days and be smart about it. But like, I want to be here every night that we're open. And so far, we've made it. I mean, definitely that there is pressure on, only for this fact that, like, sometimes we're like, gosh, we need to do more private events, or we need to do this, or we need to sell our olive oil or whatever to keep it all together. Because even restaurants that are open 7 days a week and part of a restaurant group, the margins, as we all know, are very thin.
yeah.
And, it doesn't take much to be like, oh my God, we're not in a good place anymore. So we're just always trying to look ahead and be smart and keep things moving. And we're, again, very fortunate that we do quite a few private events, which helps a lot. And, and just find different angles. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you know, hitting 30 years, you're doing something right. You're doing a lot of things right, and I think even just what you're describing with, having an open mind to evolve and try, I think is really important. Because you may be very meticulous and specific in the dough and the pizza making, but keeping a broad, flexible kind of opinion on what's working, what's not, listening to your audience, listening to your guests and what's happening, and utilizing the tools you have. I mean, all those things combined keep you, you know, at the top, right? And at the top of, what is this, the third year in a row that you were named number one pizzeria in the world?
Um,
How's that
it,
feel?
uh, It was 2 years in a row. The year before those 2 years, we were number 2, and then the year before that, we were number 1. So it was like 1,
Oh,
2, 1, 1.
yeah. Well, see, you improved from that year and got into the one slot.
I was so upset.
Has it-
I did. I was. I was like, "If you're not number 1, it's like, I don't care. Like, let's not
Eh,
talk about it. Pretend that never happened."
no consolation prizes for you. No.
No, no. I'm not one of those guys that's like, "Oh, everyone did a good job." It's like, "No, you're either number 1 or you're not."
Because I mean, you're from. I mean, we're from the same generation, and things have
Yeah,
changed.
yeah, it was
Everything
different. It
has
was a lot
evolved.
different back then. Yeah, it was like,
Yeah,
there was no like, "Oh, you're the bench warmer on the baseball team. Congratulations." It was like, "Oh my god, I don't want my parents to know this."
yeah. Oh man. Um, that's a whole other episode, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, so, and by the way, you can't treat your staff like that anymore, so just a heads up to all,
Absolutely not.
as
And
everyone knows.
and I'm gonna segue there for a little bit because I had the pleasure of chatting with some of your happy staff members when I visited, and one in
They've all
particular.
been fired since.
Um, one in particular who I think I saw him working like 3 different stations or 3 different areas that evening. So clearly, your teams are cross-trained and doing multiple things. What do you have like a specific philosophy or approach on how you develop your team?
I mean, again, like everything here, it's from the dough recipe to everything else, it's constantly evolving and shifting. But the overall kind of thing that we've done here since over maybe the last 3 or 4 years is that we have the entire staff come in at the same time and leave at the same time. No one is ever cut. So it's like guaranteed hours, and everyone is paid the exact same amount, which is a little above the minimum wage. And then the tips are split exactly evenly. And then if you're doing stuff like extra for us, and we pay you out of our pocket. So that way it makes everything completely transparent. Everything is on the up and up. Everything is open. I never like trying to manage the thing where it's like, oh, this server gets this amount of points and this one gets it or this percent. It's like, oh my God, like it's way too difficult to figure out what's going on, and then you have, like, people getting cut because it's slow, but they're getting more money in tips because they're a senior, and so we were just like, "You know what? Let's just make it where everybody knows what we're doing. We print out the amount that's made every night. We show it to everyone. Here's the tips, whatever. And there's six of you, and you all know exactly what you're getting. So everything is just like bam, right there. There's never a question. And then more on the practical side, and actually in the restaurant, is same thing. There's no, as you mentioned, there's no like, oh, I only host or oh, I only work the bar. I tell everyone that works here, like, first of all, you're representing 30 years of my life. Like, I'm not coming out and talking to the guests. So I'm trusting you. Like, this is my life. Like, and we're not open unless I'm here. So it's not like I'm home watching TV and I'm demanding things of you that I wouldn't do. Like, I've been doing it all. I've brought out the garbage every night. I've done it all. I've mopped. There's nothing in here that I haven't done and still don't do. So the mentality is we're all equal and we're all together in this and we all help each other. So you come in together. Every single thing in the restaurant is everyone's responsibility except making pizza. So I'm like, from the front door to the back door, whatever needs to be done gets done, and we all help each other and we just have complete open communication. Obviously we have sections in the restaurant just for pure logistics, but again, it's like if one server's a little weaker or newer, then somebody who's a little more talented is going to help them and carry their weight. Ultimately it doesn't matter because the tips are getting split evenly anyway, so everyone just kind of gets it. And then we also don't have any bussers, food runners, or dish people or kitchen people. Every night we rotate, one of the servers has to go into the dish pit towards the end of service and do that. And that's part of the job. Like, we just everything. They do everything. Somebody's cleaning the bathroom every night. There's literally nothing that they don't do. So I think it just makes more of a like a team, and also they all respect and understand that, like, all the aspects of it and what's going on and what it takes. And, you know, um, yeah, so that's how we do it. And even to the point that, like, I don't even have a printer in the pizza kitchen because I don't want to be back there and just have this like fire. I'm like, I'm like, bring me the ticket and we can communicate and you can let me know, like, hey, table 10 is like really annoying. Like, can you push them ahead of everyone, or they have to get to a show, or they're a friend, or just like this constant communication of like what's going on in the restaurant. And do am I doing something that I shouldn't be doing? Should I do something else? Can I help? Can I get something out quicker, or vice versa on their side? So again, it's just like this constant communication. And we do a big pre-shift every day and go over everyone that's coming in. I mean, it blows my mind that, you go to restaurants and they don't know who's in the restaurant. Like, it's just like makes me crazy. Like, I've been to so many restaurants where like the owner or chef has invited me, and then we go in and we're like, and I don't want anything for free, but like, Jesus, like, I've been in and it's like, they don't know we're here. And like, no one's even acknowledged us. And we're just like, this is weird. They told us to come in. They made the reservation, for God's sake. So for me, it's just like, and that's not to say something might not slip through the cracks, but we're pretty adamant about like going through every single guest looking at all the notes, looking at the notes from open table, just from guests that we don't know to see if there's anything mentioned and really, trying to give as much as we can. We're not 11 Madison Park, but we want to give literally as much as we can in our own way and really acknowledge people. And I feel like, God, like I always tell the staff, I'm like, can you imagine like some customers coming in that's never been here, we don't know, but in open table notes, it just says like, oh, my son is celebrating his birthday tonight. And just knowing that, or even less of a milestone, but being like, "Oh, we're visiting from Connecticut, and we always wanted to eat there," and just having the server be able to come over and be like, "Hey, welcome. Like, is this your first time in New York? I know you guys are visiting from Connecticut." There People are just like, "What? Wow, really?" Like, that's, like, blows their mind. When they know that I know about stuff, then they're really like, "You knew we were coming in?" I'm like, "Of course I knew you were coming in." Like, so that's, like, what we try to do. So that's sort of how we approach the staffing and all that stuff. As far as the hiring goes, that's just always tough. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
such a tough, tough thing for, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. Well, good thing you're on my VIP list. No.
Exactly, exactly. Like, that's why we're on there.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, I didn't wanna interrupt because, I mean, I was listening very intently on I mean, that's when leaders are talking about or thinking about, culture and what does that mean and how do you set it and how do you train your staff a certain way? I mean, you basically just laid it out. It's this is how we do things, setting your expectations, making sure everybody's on the same page and reinforcing that and, doing it night by night. So that certainly is not easy, and I'm sure you have to reiterate. So kudos on that. And yeah, I mean, hiring is a challenging in general. Finding the right people, finding the qualified people or the quality people that you're looking for that would be the right fit for your culture. And the best thing you can do is continue to share kind of your philosophy and your employer brand, and essentially you'll attract the people who that resonates with. And they're like, "Yeah, that sounds like a place that I would thrive in, or I would, really enjoy to be a part of that and learn from that." And whether it's intentional or not, you're kind of teaching your whole team on how to run their own business, right? Because you said it in the beginning when
Totally.
you're shifting from just being an employee or owning a station or even being an executive chef somewhere and you have management responsibility. Once you get into ownership, you're spending the majority of your time doing a lot of other things that, may have nothing to do with, recipe development and, execution and stuff. Um, so that's great. I know a lot of people are always looking for those types of experiences to put on their resume or to round out their own skills because they one day wanna open their own place or they would love to lead an organization a specific way, and anyway, this is about you, not me, but I like
No,
to
no, I
iterate.
agree. No, it's true. It's totally, I agree with everything you just said 100%. I mean, I do think, like, for the folks that get it, they get it. And we've had some of our staff has been with us now for many years because they get it. And then sometimes we get people in and we're like, by the end of the first night, we're like, they are not gonna get it.
Yeah,
That's that.
and
And that's
and it's
okay.
okay. Yeah.
Oh, but that's why I try to be so transparent and so clear from the beginning, because I think, like, for people that get it, it's like, and like you said, it's so true. You do have to reiterate. Like, it's crazy. I say to the staff when we do pre-shift, I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm saying the same thing every day, but like this is the stuff that's important to us. It's not like all of a sudden, like, I don't care about, like, this stuff. This is the foundation of, like, how we wanna treat each other and treat the guests for real. Like, it's not just a passing fad, and it's so important to myself and to Christina that, like, we just keep kinda repeating the same stuff every day
Yep.
with, things that change and evolve and, whatever, but the core ideas are always the core ideas.
Yeah, yeah, and I love and to your point about the hospitality and focusing on that and that rounding out, obviously the back of house or the food and the overall experience. I mean, your brand itself is so far. far reaching, way beyond just the amount, the number of dough that you make per night, right? There's just so many that you can make but the fact that that experience and your brand is going to live way beyond, and now with social media and everything, it all kind of ripple effects into this cycle that feeds back into, your business and brand. So, um, before we kind of go into quickfire, I do want to hit upon a little bit that you also have, online, you have olive oil, which we were just talking about, which I see behind you. I'm very excited. I've been waiting for this olive oil drop. And, your online store is where people can purchase these things, I believe, right? Some of the things that you procure.
Yeah, I mean, we're not selling too much. But we do have olive oil, which is an oil that a variety of oil that I've wanted to use for many years, and now it's grown. We've grown it over the last maybe 3 or 4 years as a little side business, and it's from a small town north of Naples. Amazing for cooking because it has a very high smoke point, but amazing as a finish oil too. And yes, that's on our online store. And then we sell our panettone, during the holidays through Goldbelly, who has been a great
Great.
partner. So I think we may have almost just sold out of it.
Oh, well, get it while you can.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go on to Goldbell. Um, so
Yeah,
and
it's so good.
I do that not to give you a shameless plug, but
I'll take it.
because no, I do it because what I want to highlight and hone in on is your meticulous sourcing of ingredients to
Yeah.
perfection, and I think that adds to your overall brand and what you portray. So the fact that you're now bringing these things that you're selecting and you're specifically placing for, others to enjoy. I think that's great. To your earlier point about when you were younger, you were like, this is how I make it. This is my interpretation and, take it or leave it type of, I think a lot of people look for that and still look for that, because they trust your brand. They trust your, procurement of things and your selection. So, you know, I want to share that with others because I find that very fascinating, and difficult to maintain. It's
It
hard.
is.
Um, so
It is
so thank you
difficult.
for sharing your point of view.
Thanks. Thank you.
On that note, we are going to go to quickfire. What advice would you tell your younger self?
Stay positive when things are down.
What's your advice for someone struggling in the industry?
Find your own voice, learn everything you can, and then find your own voice and don't chase fads. Just do your thing and let everything come to you. Like, build a real foundation.
What's your advice for fellow hospitality leaders?
Keep working. Go to work. Don't sit at home.
I love it. On that note, thank you so much, Anthony, for spending time with us and sharing some of your exciting career story. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Remember, success looks different for everyone in hospitality. No two paths are the same. If you have a leader or a topic you want to hear about, email media@culinaryagents.com. Hospitality on the Rise is brought to you by Culinary Agents, connecting top talent with employers since 2012. Whether you're hiring or looking for your next opportunity, join us at culinaryagents.com. For more inspiration, subscribe to Hospitality on the Rise and visit hospitalitycareerpaths.com, a free platform by Culinary Agents. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. And if you love this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration.